All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most mind-bending viral theories out there. What if the gods our ancient ancestors worshipped weren't divine, supernatural beings at all? What if, instead, they were highly advanced extraterrestrials from some distant corner of the cosmos? It's an absolutely fascinating premise, and it spans across ancient mythology, biology, and astrophysics. Our goal today is to neutrally unpack the source material behind this massive question and see exactly what clues have led researchers down this incredible rabbit hole.
To really get a grip on this, let's look at how the idea exploded into modern pop culture. Think back to the 2012 sci-fi blockbuster Prometheus. The film kicks off with a brilliant concept. In the year 2089, archaeologists discover ancient cave paintings scattered all across the globe. These paintings belong to completely unconnected civilizations separated by thousands of miles, and yet, they all point to the exact same specific star system. The movie suggests these aren't just primitive drawings. They're an invitation from an advanced alien race called the Engineers, beings who literally seeded life on Earth. But here is the wild part. That Hollywood plot, it isn't entirely fiction.
It's actually rooted in a dead-serious scientific hypothesis known as directed panspermia. Basically, this is the theory that life didn't just spontaneously generate in Earth's primordial soup by chance, but was intentionally seeded here by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. And we aren't talking about some fringe internet theory here. This idea was championed by Francis Crick, yes, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist who co-discovered the structure of DNA. The man who literally unlocked the basic code of human life hypothesized that we might just be a designed cosmic experiment. And it's wild how long people have been tossing this idea around. The broader concept of panspermia, the idea that life originated from space, actually dates back 2,500 years to the Greek philosopher Anaxagoras. It got a proper scientific framework in the 1900s thanks to another Nobel laureate, Svante Arrhenius. But things really kicked into high gear in 1984. Scientists found a meteorite in Antarctica called ALH 4001. This rock was blasted off Mars millions of years ago, and when NASA analyzed it, they found microscopic structures inside that looked incredibly similar to bacteria. Suddenly, the idea of life hitching a ride through space on rocks wasn't just fun philosophy. It was a testable scientific possibility.
Now, what's really fascinating is what happens when you hold these scientific concepts up against our oldest universal creation myths. Take Greek mythology. The Titan Prometheus creates humans from clay and gifts them fire, which of course represents technology and knowledge. Compare that to Hindu texts where Brahma creates humans and gives them the Vedas. Or look at the biblical and Quranic stories where God creates humanity from earth or clay and breathes life into them. Across the globe, completely independent ancient cultures share this exact same core narrative. A powerful being descends from the sky, creates humanity, gifts us knowledge, and then returns to the heavens.
So that brings us to the ancient astronaut theory. Were they gods or extraterrestrial visitors? Put yourself in the shoes of early humanity for a second. If highly advanced beings landed in a spaceship 5,000 years ago, our ancestors wouldn't have a word for technology. They'd call it magic. And theorists point out that this might explain some absolutely massive ancient anomalies. For instance, in ancient Indian epics, are they describing literal flying machines called vimanas and nuclear-style blasts? Does this explain why the 4,500-year-old Great Pyramid of Giza is positioned at the exact mathematical center of Earth's landmass? Or why the massive Nazca lines in Peru can only be properly seen from the sky as if they were drawn to communicate with someone up above?
And then, there's another massive historical overlap we've got to talk about, the Great Flood. It's not just the biblical story of Noah. Hindu texts describe the Pralaya, where Manu is saved by Lord Vishnu. But it doesn't stop there. You find identical flood destruction myths in ancient Mesopotamia, Greece, China, and among numerous Native American tribes. Some theorists suggest this shared global trauma wasn't just a natural weather event. They argue it could represent advanced beings deciding to hit the reset button on a creation they were no longer satisfied with.
Moving on to our next section, the biological seed. Here, we're hunting for secrets buried right inside our own DNA.
All right, let's shrink things way down. The human genome has about 3 billion base pairs. 3 billion! But get this, scientists only really understand what about 2% of it does. For a long time, the other 98% was just labeled junk DNA because it didn't seem to code for proteins. But come on, nature's rarely that wasteful, right? Some researchers hypothesize that this massive misunderstood portion of our biology could actually be a dormant code. Perhaps it's an extraterrestrial signature just waiting to be unlocked when we reach a certain level of technological evolution.
And that exact line of thinking led to a highly controversial claim back in 2013. Two Kazakh scientists, Vladimir Sherbak and Maxim Makukov, published a paper claiming they found a strict mathematical and semantic pattern hidden inside our genetic code. They argued that these patterns looked programmed, literally like computer code, rather than something that could just naturally evolve through random biological mutation. If their analysis holds any water, it heavily implies we are a designed species.
Okay, let's zoom back out, way out. It's time to look at the cosmic scale and ask, where is everybody?
Try to wrap your head around this number. A 1 followed by 24 zeros. 10 to the power of 24. That is the estimated number of stars in the observable universe. It is a number so unimaginably huge that it actually outnumbers every single grain of sand on every beach and ocean floor on Earth combined. Just let that mathematical probability sink in for a moment.
And thanks to NASA's Kepler Space Telescope, we now know something huge. Average stars usually have planets. In fact, calculations suggest that our Milky Way galaxy alone could hold roughly 6 billion Earth-like planets sitting right in the habitable zone. You know, not too hot, not too cold, perfect for liquid water. Even more importantly, the universe is absolutely saturated with carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. We aren't made of some rare, magical material. We are made of the most common stuff in the universe. So if the building blocks of life are basically everywhere, and there are billions of planets just like ours in a 13.8 billion-year-old universe, well, we hit a wall. In 1950, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Enrico Fermi looked at all this math and just bluntly asked his colleagues, where is everybody? This is the famous Fermi paradox. If alien life should logically be everywhere, why haven't we seen a single shred of definitive proof?
Well, one of the most fascinating answers to the Fermi paradox is something called the zoo hypothesis. Proposed by Harvard astrophysicist John Ball in 1973, this idea suggests that advanced aliens definitely exist and they absolutely know we're here, but they intentionally avoid making contact. They are silently observing us, letting our natural evolution play out, much like we observe animals in a nature reserve or a zoo. And what's really chilling about this scientific hypothesis is how perfectly it mirrors global religious texts. Texts that describe an all-seeing creator who watches our every move, but rarely interferes directly, allowing us our free will.
Which brings us to our final section, advanced tech and the ultimate question. Let's talk about categorizing cosmic power. To actually measure that kind of incomprehensible power, scientists use the Kardashev scale, created by a Russian astrophysicist back in 1964. It categorizes civilizations by their energy use. A Type 1 civilization harnesses the energy of their entire planet. And spoiler alert, we aren't even there yet. Humanity is currently sitting at roughly 0.7. A Type 2 civilization can harness the energy of their entire star, maybe by building a massive structure around it called a Dyson sphere. And a Type 3 civilization, they control the energy of an entire galaxy. To a Type 3 civilization, we would literally be like ants. Their power would be utterly beyond our comprehension.
And that perfectly illustrates a core idea here, famously summed up by the sci-fi legend Arthur C. Clarke. He said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Think about it, if you took a modern smartphone back in time just 500 years, you would be worshipped as a wizard or a god. Now imagine encountering technology from a civilization that is millions of years ahead of us. To our ancient ancestors, and honestly probably to us today, their actions wouldn't look like science. They would look exactly like divine miracles.
But we aren't just sitting around wondering anymore. Today, we are actively hunting for these answers ourselves, finally stepping out of our own planetary crib. We've got the Perseverance rover physically digging around on Mars for organic molecules. We've got probes peering into the massive, life-sustaining underground oceans of moons like Europa and Enceladus. We're looking way beyond our solar system, discovering Earth-like planets in the TRAPPIST-1 system, and using the incredible James Webb Space Telescope to detect potential biosignatures, gases produced only by living organisms on distant exoplanets. We are closer than ever to finding out if we share this cosmic stage. But here's the real kicker. Let's say tomorrow we find absolute proof that we were designed by advanced aliens. That just triggers the ultimate philosophical headache, the infinite regress. If the engineers or ancient extraterrestrials created us, well, who created them? And who created the beings that created them? It's an infinite loop that pushes the boundary of both science and philosophy. It proves that answering one massive mystery often just gives birth to an even larger one.
Ultimately, whether we're the result of random biological evolution, the intelligent design of a divine creator, or some grand experiment by ancient alien engineers, the result is exactly the same. We are quite literally star stuff. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a dying star billions of years ago. And here you are, a conscious being. using those very atoms to contemplate your own origin in this vast universe. As Carl Sagan so beautifully put it, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. And that fact alone, no matter how we got here, is a miracle in itself. So what do you think is the truth of our cosmic origins? Thanks for exploring this with me today. And as always, keep questioning the universe.